So, gin and bubbles. The French 75 is probably the best gin cocktail to mark any celebration, and it's super delicious to boot. So let's make one, and we're starting right now. Hey folks, my name's Tim, and welcome to Tim and Tonic, where we discover the world's best gin and how to drink it. So a little bit of history lesson first, but the French 75 is actually named after a 75mm French, you guessed it, field gun that was used in World War I. Bit of a dark name when you really think about it for something that's usually used as a celebratory drink. But this gun was a bit of an all-rounder, you know, anti-tank, anti-aircraft, personnel, you name it, it did the job. And pretty much around the time, a few prominent French journalists actually credited France's success in the war almost all down to this very gun. And so that brings us to around 1914 or 1915, where a French bartender creates a drink in honor of that. And this drink was originally not known as the French 75 exactly, it was the word in French for 75. Which, being Australian and having no skills in French at all, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it. Let's just whack that word up on screen right now. And for that very same reason as me, a whole bunch of ignorant English speakers, it eventually became known as the French 75. And much like the namesake gun, the French 75 got a little bit of a reputation for being super potent. You know, that gin and sparkling wine combination. It can be deceptively easy to drink, but a few of these can easily put you on the floor. So first up, ingredients you're gonna need. Obviously, this channel wouldn't be anything if the cocktail didn't have gin in it. I'm using Roku here, which is actually a more contemporary Japanese gin. But I think it really goes well in this cocktail. It's got some yuzu as a botanical, which is a kind of citrus, which is super aromatic, even more so than any other kind of citrus like lemon or your traditional ones. So I think really that's gonna come out and really shine in this cocktail. Next up, the other ingredient we already talked about, you're gonna need some sparkling wine. Now, you can see here that I've got some Prosecco. Someone's probably gonna blast me in the comments for this because after all, it is a French 75, so we probably should use champagne or at least a French sparkling wine like Cremant or something like that. But honestly, some of those French sparkling wines, they are very delicious, but they can also be super expensive. So really any dry sparkling wine like Prosecco or Cava or whatever you have locally is gonna be absolutely delicious too. And yes, it'll be ever so slightly different in flavor, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Next ingredient for acidity, you're gonna need some fresh lemon juice. And then last but not least, we need something to balance out all that acidity because not only does the lemon have acid, but also the sparkling wine has a good whack of it too. So we need some simple syrup, 1 part of sugar to 1 part of water. So quite a simple cocktail in terms of the ingredients. It really is one of those blank canvas style cocktails which lets the gin shine. So you can use pretty much any gin here, not just a dry gin. You could use a flavored gin if you want. Whatever, it's gonna taste really great. The only thing to keep in mind is if you use a really sweet flavored gin, like a slow gin or something like that, just one that has lots of added sugar, you might want to adjust the ratios and reduce the amount of sugar syrup you put in. So let's make some space and get mixing this cocktail. So first up, the gin, we're gonna need 30 mils or 1 ounce. And then our lemon juice, we're gonna need half that quantity, so you want 15 mils or half an ounce. And then our sugar syrup, same quantity as the lemon juice, 15 mils or half an ounce. Obviously here, we don't want to be shaking this drink with our sparkling wine. So let's add in some ice and give it a good shake. Okay, so a little tip here, but obviously the next ingredient is our sparkling wine. You've got two options here because you want the sparkling wine really to kind of mix through the cocktail, but you don't want to agitate it too much so that it goes flat. So first option is you could, when you open your shaker, if you need to open it, then you can add the sparkling wine into the shaker and strain it into your glass, which will combine it perfectly. The second option is we can open the sparkling wine now, put it into our glass first, and by putting it first, this cocktail with that little bit of sugar syrup is actually heavier than the sparkling wine, so it's gonna kind of naturally mix through it anyway. So let's open this up. Let's see how good I am at opening bottles of sparkling wine. It's been a while since we've done one of these. Little pro tip here as well. Apparently someone once told me that you should turn the bottle more so than the cork and try and get as little sound as possible. Sorry to my sommelier friends, I'm probably gonna do a horrible job of this. There we go. Terrible. So sparkling wine around 60 to 90 mils into the bottom of your glass. And let's fine strain this into our little stemless flute. Some bartenders will argue that a French 75 traditionally was served on ice in a Collins glass, but personally, I prefer it like this. I mean, sparkling wine, it just makes sense to serve it without ice in something like a flute rather than serving it on ice in a Collins glass. A little bit of lemon zest just to garnish, give it a squeeze, and twist it up. Oh, this zest is super oily and aromatic, absolutely love it. And just hang that over the edge a little. And there we go, we have the French 75. I guess it's about that time, let's give it a taste test. Oh, my garnish has dropped in there. Oh man, that's really good. That Roku gin here that I used actually works amazingly well in this cocktail. As I expected, you really get that yuzu coming through and just adding an extra layer of flavor to the French 75. Oh, but the French 75 itself is just super, super tasty. I mean, the citrus and sugar kind of combo makes it super bright and refreshing. You've got that kind of sparkling effervescence, bubbles coming through from the sparkling wine. You've got the gin coming through. Everything is just perfectly balanced. Nothing is kind of too dominating the other one, but it really still lets you taste the character of that gin. And for being a drink that was so boozy, they're not wrong. It's just deceptively easy to drink. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this absolutely banging French 75. If you want to discover more gin cocktails like this, click through the playlist that's popping up here right now to see all the other cocktail videos I've done on the channel. But cheers guys, see you next time.